Hello and welcome to my project on painterly rendering. This is my final assignment for my real-time rendering course. Here, what this program aims to do is it tries to recreate a painterly rendering style, like a painting style. So you choose a image and then you try to convert that into how it will look like as a watercolor or like a painting style. Uh, yeah, so the file, let me first explain what the parameters that we have. So we have the brush settings. That is controls how big and the minimum and maximum size. So I can reduce my minimum down to 3, or you can force it to even lower. And your maximum is around 25. And then you have the stroke length, which you can choose minimum and maximum again, and you can set it as long up to 30 units long. Then we have the curvature filter, which tells how much curve is allowed in your strokes. Then there's the next parameter is the color threshold. This determines how close the color has to be to the original image. And finally, the jitter amount. Jitter amount just adds random color noise to the image. So let's start off with the file that I've been using since for testing. So this file is what I've been using. So let me first explain how this painterly algorithm works. It starts off by painting the biggest strokes first. So let's simulate that by setting my brush radius to as big as possible. Now that I set my minimum and my maximum both to 25, it has to choose the radius as 25, right? So, and I will show you with smaller strokes because it's more visible clearly. Let's not add any jitter right now. And yeah, so when I generate the image, you can see it's a very big stroke. 25 is a very big stroke. So it's drawing quite, it's a very it takes a very approximate value. So let's now reduce that. Let's just see if I have smaller strokes. Sorry, yeah, smaller brush size. Let's make this, let's see, 10, but just one single layer. Even I'm still painting only one single layer because it's only 10. So 10, you can see it's kind of got the outline of the fruits going. If I want to now paint 2 layers, the way I've set it is that the difference between the minimum and maximum, if it's greater than 1, and between 5, it will it will take the minimum and maximum and will draw 2 layers. So let's change this to 5 so that we have one layer with 10 and one layer with 5, and we generate the same image now. Yeah, so now you can see there are smaller strokes applied on top of the bigger strokes. The bigger strokes are also present, and then on top of that we paint smaller strokes. And now if we want to draw even smaller strokes, if you want to draw 3 layers, so if the difference is more than 5, we'll draw 3 layers. So I'll go to, and for the demo's sake, I can make it even smaller. Let's make it like 1.5, and let's make the largest brush size even quite big. So it will draw one very big stroke, sorry, one very big with one set of strokes with very big radius, and then one which is the average of between 1.5 and 25, and then the final layer with 1.5. But now since we're drawing 3 layers, the compute time increases, but but for a image size of 512p, it's still pretty fast. And now you can see we've pretty much actually recreated the original image. If you see the original image, it is this one. Yeah, and we've almost gotten like the image to look exactly like how it was with a painting style. But obviously we do not want it to be exactly like the same. We want it to be slightly painted, right? So let's increase our stroke length. Let's increase my maximum stroke length to, let's say, 16.8. Yeah, it's gonna take some time for it to generate. Yeah, there are some errors here because the it's not able to figure out exactly where these strokes have to be placed. But you can see there obviously there are much longer strokes being applied and it looks more like a painting. If you play around with the value, you can find some value that will be uh, suitable to make sure it's not too long, it's not too short, and so on. The next parameter that we can, let's open a new file. Let's try with the next. I'll explain the next parameter with a different file. Let's take maybe this Fox one. So now I'm just going to do the same thing. Let's reduce my stroke length because sometimes I think it's a little too big. Yeah. Okay. So we have a painting of this fox now. Let's say this looks like this, but let's say if I add some jitter to this, this is random noise basically. We will get this. You can see there is some other colors being applied. It's got most of the colors exactly, but it makes it look more artistic. There is other colors being involved. Now I'll show you how this curvature filter works. So the curvature filter, what it does is maximum of 1 means that it allows bare minimum curve. It does not allow your stroke to be curved. So all your strokes are straight lines. They're not, they have to be placed straight along some direction. Whereas if I reduce it down even further, let's make it really small, which means it allows maximum curvature. You will see more curved strokes, like such as this one. It's not always going to curve the stroke because it does not, it might not find the right spot for it to curve it, but then it allows more curvature, is what this parameter does. Then finally, the color threshold, it is not very noticeable, especially with these images. But what it does is will uh, it will try to make sure that your color is as close to the original color as possible. So if you have a larger threshold, which means you're allowing a difference of the color to be 40 units, and if you reduce it down to 5, which means your color has to be very similar. It has to be within 5 units difference.